just simply cause our hair is long. People, you know, we've got to find a way to bring some understanding here today. Pick it loud, pick it sound. People don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, so you can see what's going on, what's going on, yeah, what's going on. Wanna know what's going on. All right. Oh, baby. Ooh, what's going on? Wanna know, I wanna know, baby. What's going on? Na. Woo! I wanna know what's going on, baby. Yes, I wanna know what's going on right now, people. Oh, what's going on right now? Tell me, yeah, what's going on? All right.
Already there. Good morning, good evening, good night, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your nighttime, right time DJ Music, and welcome to another episode of the Chop Shop. As Marvin Gaye said some 20, 30, 40 years ago, what's going on? That's the topic of what we're going to talk about today. Got a very special guest in the studio with me there. CeCe's in the house. We're going to chop it up here for about the next hour or so about some very poignant things that I ran across in the news. We're going to do something from Ari Melber, and we're going to do something with some Killer Mike. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my co-host here tonight. Hold on just 1 second. Let me remove the background there. And 3, 2, 1. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, CeCe, how you doing? Great to see you. Say hello to the good folks if you don't mind, ma'am.
Hello, y'all. My name is CeCe, as my co-host DJ Music has already told you. We're here. We're talking about some things that we want to bring to your attention, and we hope you're willing and able to listen. So, yeah.
That's right, exactly. You know, it's like they're going to the grocery store, ladies and gentlemen. You know what's on the shelf there. Pick up what you need, and what you don't want, what you don't need. Leave it there for somebody else to get. You know, what we're about to talk about is, of course, my opinion and CeCe's opinion. Whether you agree or disagree with it, you know, you're always free to leave a comment down in the comment section, or you can always hit us up through email or whatever. And you know, maybe one of these days we can have you up on the show to discuss your point of view on that. But in the meantime and in between times, though, folks, you know, it is what it is. It is our opinion, and we are entitled to it. Would you agree with that, CeCe?
That's right. That is right.
So, you know, it's two things you can do if you don't like what we're talking about. Either go to another channel or deuces, turn it off. Say it again.
Bye. We
Right,
love you, but we can love you from a distance, okay? So
right,
don't worry
right,
about it. We ain't gonna
right,
take it personal. If you hate us, hate us. We love haters, but
right.
we gonna love you still. So that's what we
Right.
got to give.
As they used to say, make it as your motivators.
Yes. Yeah, we like those motivators. They so motivating.
The- But CeCe, I sent you a clip earlier. We'll talk about that in just in a minute. But first, I meant to send you another clip, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with the. I guess was a rapper. Now he's turned activist, Killer Mike. Um,
Killer,
yeah,
Killer Mike.
yes, Killer Mike.
No, not
He,
really.
well, he's a kind of a rapper out of the the Atlanta area. He's actually which he turned activist, which
Oh, kinda. His
yeah.
face.
Yeah, kind of big guy, heavy but
Yeah.
nice, good speaking voice or whatever. But he was on one of the shows on ESPN called Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and another guy, I think Skip Bayless. But let's run this clip here. It's a clip from, of course, where I met you at over on TikTok. We'll talk
Uh-huh.
about that later on. But here's as I was scrolling through TikTok, I ran across this clip here. So let's take a listen to this, and we'll come back and do some comments on it, or we might even have to stop it in the meantime and chop it up about it. All right, but
All right.
y'all check this clip out here.
Black people, we get tired of serving you guys. Just to be frank and honest, man, it's not our responsibility to get rid of racism. Like James Baldwin said, we didn't invent the word. We didn't create these conditions. White society did that. And a white teacher should be your teacher. Now, we are definitely your co-conspirators, your allies, friends, and brothers, depending on who you talk about. LP, my rap partner, that's my brother. Some people politically just my allies. Some people who got a common goal are my co-conspirators. But white people need to be teaching white people. Because sometimes you only believe it when it's coming from somebody that look like you. Black people are tired of the burden of having to be the caretakers of this country, holding your hand when you're young, putting our arm around you. If we play sports and get paid a little money, or rap and sing and dance, get paid a little money, somehow we're not supposed to speak to you. Like, what kind of foolishness is that? And then the same people will turn around and tell you the greatest president ever was a B-level actor named Ronald Reagan. We got a casino owner as the president of the United States right now. You can't tell black people to keep taking care of me, understand me, give us time to progress. You need to be taught. You need to be taught by a teacher. This woman is an educator. She said we could eradicate racism in this country in 20 years if we really wanted to. If you look at it, that's pre-K through 12th grade is about 19 years. If you do your nursery and then mix it with your 12 years high school, you're going to go into roughly education 12, 13 years, maybe on up to 19 if you do college. If you educate all along the way, you can eradicate racism. But somebody still profits from racism. Police departments get paid more money when crime is up. So my brothers who run nonprofits in LA say when we really reduce crime, they take our funding. And then crime pop back up, and then we get a little more funding. And the police get more funding too. So it's time to stop the Ponzi scheme. It's time to stop building private prisons. It's time that we have special prosecutors that come to places like Brunswick, Georgia, where the prosecutors and whoever the guy who thought he was a policeman are so connected that he won't get prosecuted after hunting a black man like an animal with two more white men. It's time that we started appointing special prosecutors to come in from out of the district and prosecute. Black people just tired. We tired. How much do we have to do for you before you do something for yourself? Before you say, I'm going to self-educate myself. I'm going to listen to Jane Elliott. I'm going to listen to Tim Wine. I'm going to listen to old speeches by Eugene Debs. I'm going to read Ida B. Well. I'm going to start to learn from Lucy Parsons. The last two people were black because they black women, and I believe that they should hold more leadership positions too.
But Killer Mike, America was founded on having somebody to look down on. That's what slavery provided. That's what we have. We got to have somebody. LBJ said, if you can convince the lowest white that he's as good as the best black, you can rob him. He said, hell, if you give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. That's what was happened. We've been provided, they've been provided someone to look down on. Who do they look down on? Us and minorities. So you got to have somebody to look down on. If you're in racism, who are you going to look down on, Killer Mike?
Well, What do you think about that, CeCe? Coming out the box, I'd like to get your initial reaction to what you heard.
Okay, so I've seen this. Um, I agree. So what I'm hearing is Killer Mike is saying for for decades, we have been teaching whites how to pretty much progress. That's what we've been doing. They've been progressing on our backs. And he's like, let me tell you something. We need to step away from that. You need to learn from your people and learn the way that you guys do things from each other and allow us to teach each other how to be. Right? That's what I've heard.
Hmm.
And also, what he said, what I took from it was this a time to make a change through the judicial system, through the educational system, and through societal norms. And I think like he's spot on. I agree 100% because at the end of the day, if we go back prior to if we go back into like slave area, right? Prior to the segregation movement or, before there was segregation where we was freed or whatever, before we was freed back into slavery, we were the mothers of those babies. And I mean, all of them. We had to parent our babies and we had to parent white people babies.
Hmm.
We taught them, even though we could not read. They learned, white babies learned to read from their mothers while they learn life from their slave from the people enslaved, if that makes sense. So the experience didn't come from the white people. It came from those black people that was forced to work their fields and do their work. And I think that is like, I think now is the time as a black culture as a whole that we stop giving our gems to them. We have to start to deposit those same gems that we have deposited in white kids forever. Remember, our relationship is so tied to white people because we have a love for them. Why do we have a love for them? It was either back then you either love them or you hate them. And if you
Hmm.
can't beat them, you had to join them. So now we're at this place where we still love them because they gave us the crumbs and we're used to that. But we can love them. We just got to learn to love them from a distance and keep our properties. What am I trying to say, Lord? Give me this word. Our intellectual properties for ourselves.
I would agree wholeheartedly, and as Mike, I think Killer Mike is spot on. And to roll back what you said, and what he said, it's not our responsibility for years now, from slavery to Reconstruction to Jim Crow to civil rights to the crime bill. We've always tried to show white people how to deal with us. What's the best method to deal with us? But you don't listen. So, as Jane Elliott, for all of you that's familiar with that experiment that she did with the brown eye and the blue eye, what she did, she separated a bunch of white kids from brown eyes and blue eyes, and they basically what she did, she taught the brown eyed people to be the upper class, and the blue eyed people were the lower class. And so, at the end of that experiment, she asked the blue eyed people how did they feel about being treated as second class citizens, no
I've
matter
seen
their.
that.
None of them liked it. None of them. So it's the same thing when we say this to white people. You ask us what's wrong or what can we do to make it better, but it's obvious either you don't care or you're not listening. So listen to
Or
someone
both.
like right, right. And I think sometimes I gotta lean with the life I've lived. I've got to lean to more don't care than
Yeah.
don't know. And so if you don't listen to us as a collective of black people, maybe it's time you start listening to someone that looks and looks like you. And
Mm.
maybe that's the biggest thing. And I think that's what Jane Elliott's whole experiment was about. Listen, I'm a white woman, and I see the ills of white America. And the only way that you folks are ever going to see it is to try and put yourself in their shoes. And that's what that experiment was about.
Yes.
So,
There was another one that she was on Oprah's show. So Jane Elliott is her name, right?
yeah, Jane Elliott, yes.
Yes. So she was on Oprah's show. And fix that. No, 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 no. I'm so sorry. I got kids, y'all. Please forgive me. This is real life for us over here, okay? We just take our time out of our life to drop these nuggets on y'all. Y'all got to forgive us sometimes if we have to step away and deal with our families. But the truth is, nobody is going to talk about it. So be patient with us. And, let's just keep it 100.
Absolutely. That is the next generation of us behind you right there. So if you don't, you don't teach them and you don't, you don't show them that, hey, mommy's out here doing the doggone thing, then who else is going to do it?
That's right. And you get to be with it in real time. I cannot do that right now.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, hold on. Gabby, see, I'm in the middle of something? Yeah, but I can't get her if she wakes up. Yes. Do that. Sorry, that's my daughter.
No, she's needed by all means.
She was on Oprah Winfrey's show, right? And Oprah, she asked the crowd, if any of you guys, I think this was Oprah, she was on one of her shows. Don't quote me on exactly where she was at. I watch her everywhere. She'd be everywhere. Jane Elliott. That's who we're speaking of. Yes. So what happened is she asked the crowd, the entire crowd. She's in the stadium. I believe it was the stadium. Like I said, don't quote me. But she asked them, if any of you guys will want to be treated like a black person, raise your hand. How many people you think raised their hand?
Nobody. And that leads to the next thing. What our main topic is there, CeCe. I sent you the clip on police brutality. Of course, we all know the summer of 2020, as they want to label it the summer of George Floyd. For a minute, it was all the focus on police brutality and what the police were doing to unarmed people of color, and so much so it's even black men. And as we started the show, you heard a little bit of Marvin Gaye in the background. What's going on? And me being a radio station owner and a DJ personality, I know the power of music, and I preach that all the time. But you can go back through time. You can go back to way back when they started recording music. There's always been a song that sticks out about the social issues and the injustices, what's going on, from the Vietnam War to even when Muddy Waters did about what was going on in the cotton fields and different things like that. So music has its place in history. Yeah. So in this next clip that we're going to talk about here, it's another generation of how provocative and how powerful music can be. Because if you don't, when we're younger, when we first start to learn to read and write, most of us learn it through song or ABCs. What did your parents do? They sing it to you.
Yep. It's taught in school.
Right. Through songs. So that's how a lot of us learn to, we learn to associate different things through music. So why not, as we'll find out in this clip, when it comes to getting things consciously into someone's mind, why not convert it into a song? Why, in this case, why it's so prevalent with me? Because this is the younger generation. We're all running around complaining there's no positive music out there. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it is. And I won't give away the clip, but you've seen it. But just a little bit of it, I'll give this little bit away. When you saw it, did you think those people were actors?
I did not. It took me 2 times to watch it, and then I had to really listen to what the guy, like the media host, was saying.
Ari
He was
Melber.
like, "Those are actors." I didn't hear that the first time. I didn't hear it at all. I went back and replayed it a second time, and I'm like, "What?"
Right. Now, to me, as a DJ and as someone that's been, I listen to a whole lot of music every day. Now, the caliber of the song, it may be, to me, it could be a little better, but in this case, it's more the message than it is the lyric, than the body of the song itself. So I know a lot of people are going to have some criticism of it based just on that. Would you agree?
I would agree. I totally agree. Like, it's not an easy thing to listen to, and then it's not softened by the melody. So it's, like when like you said, music is so like critical to the way that we think, the way that we move, the way that we act. And when you're trying to get a message so strong out like that, you have to be mindful of the way that you're going to use the tools that you have. And I think that, like, it's going to push, but I think just because of the way that the melody, it's going to be one of those things that's kind of going to get shut out because it's going to be easy for the media to do so. It's not going to take the top of the charts right away. So yeah.
Right, because number one, as I tell all the artists that send me music, you know, when you put a lot of, I like to call them superlatives in the music, with each superlative, that means there's a key word that you could be missing as a part of the message that you're deleting by just adding words, by adding curse words.
Yeah.
So in this particular song, and I'm sure those folks that are listening to it, you know, again, I'm going to ask you not to critique the song itself, but I want you to listen to the message of it, because they're going to play in two parts and they're going to talk about it. And I think the author of the song, the artist himself, I think he was a little bit nervous. That kind of stuck out to me a little bit too, you know. When you guys get on, and I say this, so when you guys as artists, especially young artists, when you get on these platforms, that same energy you have in the streets, when you have that bravado, that's the same energy you got to have when you're in the public eye.
Yes.
You'll see exactly what I mean. So let's get to this clip, folks. This is from MSNBC and Ari Melber, and he's going to talk about police, police still on a killing spree.
And as we go into this, I'm going to just turn my camera off and mute my mic so you guys can hear it and without any distractions.
Okay. So here it is there, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make sure I got it in.
Change. And it did lead to a rare of the officer who killed Floyd.
An officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for at least 7 minutes.
A knee that says Black life does not matter.
The death of a woman named Breonna Taylor.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Enough is enough.
For a time, many people did come together and say enough is enough. Some states did change some laws, reducing immunity for police, for example. Some officers were even put on trial. But here's the facts tonight. In America, police are still shooting unarmed people at similar or higher rates than when those protests broke out. Did you know last year had the highest number of police killings since they started tracking this 7 years ago? Those are the facts of how police escalate and kill people in what are deemed and documented as avoidable encounters, sometimes turning criminal because of police conduct. Now, the public opinion has shifted a bit here. We've talked about that. There are many ways that people do learn about these realities or even change their minds. If you don't live in an area that is over-policed, or if you don't look like the people who are disproportionately facing police brutality, you might know less about this. Now, some people followed news. You're watching the news. Some people follow politics. But history shows many people learn about America's sometimes hidden problems from culture or popular artists who use their influence to try to shine a light, like how many people learned about the controversial trial of boxer Hurricane Carter, who Bob Dylan documented in his 1976 civil rights anthem, Hurricane, just as the anti-war movement was narrated and really sometimes even shaped politically by songs like War and CCR's Fortunate Son. And long before most of elite and white America faced the facts of the lived reality of routine police brutality in this country, many artists forced the issue with sometimes peaceful laments about government killings and sometimes provocative, aggressive anthems like F the Police. Now, for some music fans and hippies, maybe it can feel like that kind of musical protest has faded. Let me tell you something. In culture, just like in the news, it depends where you look and if you're listening. Are you? Because that brings us to some news tonight. Call it social justice news or music news, or don't worry about categorizing it and just listen. Because an artist, IDK, has a brand new protest song. It's not in record stores or streaming services. In a first ever for MSNBC, the song is debuting now on The Beat. We're going to hear part of the song in its exclusive music video, which includes a fictional artistic representation of police interactions. And then we will hear from IDK himself along with our friend Mark Thompson. Now we turn to the world premiere of IDK's Mr. Police. And we're joined by the singer and rapper behind Mr. Police, IDK. His new album featuring that song is F65. IDK also hosts Radio Clue on Apple Music and works with No Label Academy at Harvard.
Let's CeCe come back for a minute. Let's pause that right there before we get into their commentary. Come back in just for a minute, CeCe.
Now, give me a second.
Okay. Now you guys heard that just now. I mean, again, the song itself was kind of rough, but looking at the background of it, as a black man, doesn't all of that sound familiar? Don't make it worse than it already is. Hey, buddy, this or this. How many times as a black man have you heard that as routine when the police stop you for maybe you were going over the speed limit, or maybe you were just in an area that they deemed that you shouldn't be in? How many times as you as a black man or as a black woman have heard that? And like they said, killings are on even with the George Floyd incident. We saw this man being literally unalived in front of us. But still, in the black and brown community, it's higher last year than it even was when George Floyd was unalived in front of us. CeCe?
Well, I just did a little bit of my own research, and last year alone, 97% of murders were by police. Like, y'all say unalive. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna get in that trend right now. But 97% of police brutality cases or murders that was by police were due to shootings, right? And 27% of that is from Black people, and we only represent 13% of the population. The reason I said that is because our numbers are backwards, if that makes sense. If we only represent 13% and 27% of us is being murdered, that tells you something, right? It has to say something. You got to speak volumes. I don't know what else.
Right, and it certainly does. It should speak volumes, but then again, as Killer Mike said, how many times have we said this? You guys, as they say, that we're only 13% of the population, but in the prison systems, we overwhelmingly lead that in the prison system, going to jail. For those of us that are on parole or on some kind of police monitoring system, we lead the nation in that. This country itself, as a whole, as a nation itself, we have 25% of the world's population locked up. Now think about that. In this country alone, think about that. And the majority of that population that locked up are people that look like me and people that look like you, CeCe.
Yes, let me tell you this. You said there's 25% locked up. We got 27% been murdered by the hands of police. You do your math, I'm going to do mine, but I believe that's 52% of African American people either been held hostage, because a lot of them is not even guilty. We're going to call it a hostile situation. They're hostage, right, at this point. And then you got the other 27% being murdered. So out of all of this, that tells you, like, it does not matter what we do. It only takes for me to walk outside, period. Cop sees me. I look like a chick that was just arguing with the man at the store, but I ain't been out my house all day. But because I look like her, I'm Black, it must be me. I'm guilty. That's how America works.
That's exactly it, because we've seen instances of young Black men taking out simple things, doing trash, looking in his own car, and we've actually seen the police being called and let me see your ID, and it's turned into a situation where the person is literally murdered. I'll say it. A lot of the people on YouTube, but I fell into that trap, CeCe, and I'm glad you.
I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. You see, I couldn't. I struggled. I almost said it. I'm like, that ain't you.
But it caught you want to, but it's murder, and we've seen it. It's in front of us. It's no doubt about it. We saw what happened to George Floyd. We saw what happened to Anton Sterling. We saw what happened to Tamir Rice. We saw what happened to all these the names go on the list of people. Laquan McDonald was shot 16 times. How mad do you have to be to unload your gun to shoot someone 16 times? And this is
I
throughout
just seen
history.
this
This
clip
is
on
throughout.
Facebook. I mean, on TikTok. And I meant to say, I'm gonna start sending you those things so that like you can look over it, because I know that you're interested, and I might as well send it to the person that can do something with it. But this guy was at the store and the cops just pull up harassing him. His friends like he cool, like they was trying to tell the cops like ain't nothing going on. The cop tell him to get down on the ground. He grabs his taser at first. He stung the guy with the taser gun, right? But the guy was a big guy, big black guy. You know, they're afraid of us because of our size. We triumph over everything. Our beauty is our color, and it intimidates the mass. So I want y'all to always remember that you ain't got to do nothing but be black, and that is enough for you. But it's enough to call in hate towards you, and that's only because of your color. There's nothing else that you can think that it's because of your attitude. Your attitude is determined by the way that the world has treated you. That's what that is. Your color is the reason that they hate us. So don't separate yourself from the truth, because that's just what it is. But let me finish telling you. The guy took the taser and he pulled it out of his body. And, you know, obviously it didn't affect him like it would affect me. I probably would have been shaking because I'm little, right?
Out cold, right? Right.
What'd you say?
Or out cold.
I'm telling you, my little self, and then my little adrenaline self, because I got this superpower that when I get hit, it just make me go a little bit harder. That's what I'm saying. So ain't no telling what would have happened. But on his end, he definitely wasn't going down. They shot that man up. On his camera in front of his friends.
Wow.
I was like, this is murder.
And you know what gets me, CeCe? We've seen instances where, you know, young white men, serial killers, let's call them what they are, go into situations, in Uvalde, in different situations where they murdered people, murdered children, and they've been able to walk away from the situation. Dylan Ruth, here in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, went into a church, had praise with folks, and then murdered 9 of them. He was able to walk away, right, he was able to walk away, to have a meal at Burger King before they took him to jail.
And what's crazy is, you just took that right. What I was gonna go with that, like they even like be nice to the murderer. They're not gonna go in there like they come in with us. They come in with their guns blazing. You get down. But when it comes to white people, they're more like, well, sir, what's going on? And you offer a little bit more respect and dignity to them. And who told you that I don't deserve that same respect and dignity?
Right. I played a clip on one of my YouTube uploads that I did, voices of former slaves. And this former slave said to one of the guys that was interviewing, he said, you're just like, you still have that disease. And the white guy asked him, what do you mean? He says, you still have that disease of thinking that you have the right. You have the right to make me human. Now, you may be able to stop me from doing things, but you don't have the right. You know, God gave me the right to be human. You may be able to stop me from doing things as a human, but you don't give me the right to breathe. That's God. That's God's business there. And I think, and the reason why I bring that up, because I think if more people look at things like that, I think as they say, as we as a people, I hate that cliche, but sometimes it's poignant. We as a people would, you know, because think about this same guy, he was enslaved for over 100 years. 100 years. Can you imagine that? And you have people saying that there's no such thing as police brutality, that slavery was a choice, that slavery wasn't that bad. But then you hear it from the voices of people who actually lived it. How could it not be that bad? How could we be wrong about police shooting us at alarming rates over other white populations when we see it for ourselves? How could we be wrong?
If I say it's not that bad, I don't have to take accountability for it.
That's the word right there, accountability. It's the, as they said in one of their favorite movies, it's the reckoning.
Yes.
It's the reckoning that they're afraid of. Hey, they're cute.
That's my little cutie. She loves the camera, so she gravitates towards it every time.
Celebrity in the house.
Yeah. And that is the truth. It's like I know you're gonna get back to this clip soon, but it's like the moment that they shun it, like, oh, it can't be that bad. Well, I'm still a slave. You know how I know that I'm still a slave? Now I declaim my slavery. Okay. I am a freed slave at this point because I freed my mind. You know what makes us slaves within this time frame, in this period, in this millennial right now, is our mindset. We believe that we have the freedom to think, but we don't see how our thoughts are being so manipulated, right? So now they're enslaving us not just to our homes and not just bound to these neighborhoods. They're enslaving us within our bodies. They're causing us to be obese these days. They're causing us to think that we are not women and men anymore. They said that we can call ourselves them and they. So this is a different type of slavery that's being pushed on the mass, right? So not now everybody's going into slavery. And I want everybody to understand this, because just as bad as Black people was treated, if the world don't go the way that the government think it should, we all are slaves. Did we hang up? Did I lose you?
I had you put you on Front Street. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and if the world don't go the way that the government think it should go, we all will become slaves. Because who are you? You're this tiny speck to people, right? So it was easier when they needed Black people to do the work because they didn't want to let migrants in, right? If I let the migrants in, they're going to take our jobs. Who jobs were those? Those are the white men and women jobs that has high paying jobs. And if I let migrants in, they don't know that Black people don't know what they have right on their soil. But these people that comes from different countries and states, they understand what Black people did not understand at first. They have done their research. They have seen what the opportunities that America offer. So if Americans was to start letting them in back in the day when they needed us to still labor for them for a little low income or minimum wage, that's what they call it. They couldn't allow them in, right? Because they will come and they're going to outsource or outshine those that are in these higher positions, CEOs and stuff, right? Because they have nothing to lose. They're coming from poor countries. So they want to come to America. They're going to make the most of it. But us Black people, they gave us Section 8. They gave us welfare. They gave us all these breadcrumbs, and we was eating it, right? Because we have been so used to being either the house nigga or the field nigga. And either way it went, we still got the crumbs. And when the house nigga got the crumbs, he was okay with the crumbs because his crumbs tasted a little bit better than ours. We was probably getting the pork and the pig, and he might get the steak at the end or whatever the hell was left over. But at the end of the day, you still was breadcrumb. So once Black people started to become aware, now they have to start letting migrants in, right? They got to start migrating. Now LGBTQ is a thing, and everybody can be whatever they want to be, because now I get to shut the Black people up again. George Floyd woke it up, and now I want to shut them up, because if I let them speak up, this hellhole is going to have to come down, because then we get to think. You ever want to keep something from Black people? Put it in a book. Now we reading them. Now they can't even use that against us.
Right. Don't put it in a book. That's what they say. Put it in a book. You hear that, Black people? Put it in a book. That's where they try to hide shit from us in a book, because they think we don't read. But some of us actually do read.
Yes. You better stop playing.
You better stop playing with me.
That's
some of us do read. Okay. So the thing about it, when you what brought up a point there, before the 1950s, there were zero laws for immigration on the for Black people. So who were the immigration laws made for?
Migrants, right?
Wasn't for Black folks. Okay. So that means if there wasn't for Black folks, that means Black folks was not immigrating from the African continent in the 1950s. If there was zero laws on the, they had no reason for it. There was no reason for it. So where were the immigrants coming from? Not the southern border. Surely not from Africa.
From America.
Okay, they were coming from Poland, Ireland, Russia, all the
Oh,
so-called good countries.
okay. Make it,
Okay.
yeah, Russia. You're right. So as
All
I'm
the
now
good
that I'm
countries.
understanding what you're saying, you're right. It comes from where they identify as white more predominantly, whether they are
Exactly.
white or not. They know their culture because it wasn't stolen from them. But when
Right.
they come to
Right.
America, they can portray to be something. They can portray
And
to be
be
white.
right. That's right. Can you tell the difference between a white Irishman and a white Englishman until they open their mouth?
Or until you see
Or
their
we,
real red hair. Like you could tell some of them, but there has to be some distinguishing
right.
marks.
Some of them have some traits, but the most of them, they talk about they can't tell the difference between us. Ah,
Yeah. They be lying though, because I really can't tell the difference between them. Maybe
okay.
they not lying, because I promise you, if one looks like this, the other one looks the same. You only I can't. I shouldn't say
Listen,
that, but it's the
we
truth. I can't. Some days I call everybody Becky. Some days Brittany. I
right.
don't know. Everybody look the same to me.
I'm sorry, folks. We'll definitely get up on a tangent about that. But let's get
Right?
back to this clip.
Okay.
Here we go, folks.
We're also joined by radio host and Reverend Mark Thompson, who has covered and advocated civil rights issues for years, to join us for this special conversation. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
What are you saying here in this new song?
So for me, putting this record together came very organically, but it was really like talking about some of the things that I've witnessed and seen. Personally, I've come to a place where I'm no longer saying I don't feel that way towards the police, but I know there are a lot of people here who still feel that way, and this video is the reason why.
These kind of interactions, when they are real, they don't often even make the news. Why did you want to spotlight that sort of daily part of it?
Well, I think the great part about this art is I'm kind of giving you the feeling and showing you something that people go through, right? But the difference is we know that it doesn't end in a negative way because it's, obviously just acting. I think a lot of the stuff that we see on social media only lasts a week or so because, we see it, we forget about it. But when you put it in the form of a song, something that can live forever, now we're constantly reminded and hopefully it can bring change.
Well, first of all, brother, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's great. And when you all sent me the advanced clip before I came in here, I had to watch the whole thing to realize these were actors' portrayals. Mm-hmm. If you had not said that, if that had not, disclosure not been there, that disclaimer, that looks like real everyday life. You could have said that this is actually what's happening in the streets every day.
When you look at overall misconduct, it's 12 times, we can put this up, 12 times more for Black Americans. So what does it mean for you to make a video? You have, and I always remind people of this, great part about music, you got all kinds of fans. You got all kinds of listeners.
For sure.
What does it mean for some of your listeners to look at that and go, wow, that might have never happened to them, and yet it's happening a lot?
Well, F65, this album is about having a conversation of what it feels like to be a person of color around the world with people who aren't considered of color. But the conversation is supposed to feel good. So that's why the music feels good. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be inviting because I feel like the change is gonna now come from actually sitting down and having a good conversation about racial inequality as opposed to, emotional or anger.
Music like this, what our brother has done, should inspire people to want to have dialogue, even with people who don't necessarily look like them. Mm-hmm. And then talk about what we really must do. And we really are not talking about that enough.
When we look at this now with a little context, having heard from you, IDK, let's go ahead and go in and see the second half here of this new music video, the rest of the track, the world premiere of Mr. Police.
Yeah.
Where do we land by the end of it?
I mean, and in the place of seeing, it escalate from being harassed to being tired of being harassed, kind of retaliating, and then what that leads to, and I think the ways that I know friends of mine react to police come from PTSD, come from being taught by others, you know, how police tend to treat people. And then some of it's from what I had to deal with. You know, I had my run-ins with the law and in prison and jail 4 times, you know, so I kind of understand a lot.
As for the fatalities, 53% of unarmed people killed by the police were people of color.
Right.
That's all unarmed. And so you have this incredible brunt use of one of the state's greatest powers, which is execution on the spot, no trial. And it's overwhelmingly used against black and brown people in America. And this was discussed for a minute in 2020, and then it seems to have now been habituated back into just part of how this society is governed.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the nature of the news cycle. IDK mentioned PTSD. No one who's African-American can watch this video, this music video, and not relate to the experience. And so this has to wake us up. And all of those who were incited in 2020 by George Floyd and maybe have become apathetic today need to get reignited.
I'm really glad you brought it to the beat so we could do a first of its kind.
Incited in 2020 by George Floyd and maybe
incredible brunt use of one of the state's greatest powers.
In jail 4 times, you know, so I kind of understand that a lot.
As to the fatalities, 53% of unarmed people killed by the police were people of color.
Right.
All right, folks. Look at this number. 53% of the people that were killed at a 7-year high. Police unarmed killings are at a 7-year high right now. 53% of those people that's been killed in this 7-year increase has been people of color, mostly black and brown people. Those are the stats. This is fact. 53% of the unarmed people, not people with guns, not people with knives, unarmed people that's been murdered by the police. A 7-year high. CeCe?
I think that's a lot. That's a lot. I don't even know because it's ridiculous. And it's like, what really can we say? You know, like so much to say, but there's so much more to do.
I'll say it like this. You know, sometimes you want to hold your tongue because, of course, you don't want to be the person that says, hey, you know, sometimes sitting at the table in this kumbaya moments, we've been doing that for God knows how long. Yeah. Maybe it's time to, as they say, you know, put our feet to the fire. And Tupac said, we've been knocking at the door for so long. We're hungry. Sooner or later, we're going to kick it in.
That's right.
Maybe it's time we start kicking right some doors.
Because, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, right ahead. Go right ahead.
I think we're at that time right now because, like, we can't keep demanding, because that's where that word comes in a lot. It's like we got to demand our rights, which last time I checked, a tree don't got to demand to be a tree. Why do I have to demand to be treated in a humane way? I'm human. I'm going to live as such. And why do I have to demand to want to live good and have healthy food and eat normal things and, you know, be introduced? But I can't do that because I'm over here being black, and me being black says I'm a bad person because I'm darkness and everything about me is just bad. And if it ain't bad, it ain't good enough. It just ain't as good as white people. And hell, if I go into the streets and I don't even commit a crime, I could be shot. It's no more of that. We can't let these people keep murdering us like that.
Right, and especially, and you use the word accountability, and you know that casual thing that the police have that protects them from all these different crimes. That's where it needs to start at. You know, so many people holler about the Second Amendment, but I always say, you know, as far as the Constitution is concerned, it wasn't written for us anyway. So why do you even think that you have those same inalienable rights when it tells you in the Constitution itself it wasn't written for you?
You didn't even get a chance to sign it. Right. And you didn't even know what your John Hancock was. You didn't know that your John Hancock was your signature, and it was because John Hancock made a signature. Like, that was what he put on. Like people don't know these things.
Right. Heaven forbid at that time if you were a slave and you learned to read or learned to write. Guess what? Guess what happened to you? Okay.
You better say it. You got unalived.
Right. You got unalived. You got your foot chopped off. Chicken George.
You got unalived. And it's crazy because we as Black people, and I do criticize Black people in a way. It's not criticism, but it's healthy. And if you cannot pick up on healthy stuff for yourself, I really pray for you, because you're living a lie, and this lie is entailing to hell. And I don't think hell is a place that you're gonna burn after you die. Once you die, you're just gonna be dead. And I'm sorry, that's how I'm gonna leave that. And if that's not appropriate, then whatever. But once you die, you're just gonna be dead. But while you living, I'm sorry, Steve, DJ. Go ahead, DJ.
No, I was about to say, like they say, these folks always in the Bible, they always like to quote the Bible, but even in the Bible, it says the dead know nothing. They feel nothing. They know nothing.
They're just dead.
They're just dead.
That's it. You're living in hell today. Your fire is burning up underneath you.
This is hell, the hell that we're living on earth.
And that's hell.
This is
you can either make it your hell or your heaven. But remember, being a Black person, we have to actually create our heaven. And we get this thing that we're so creative. Hell, we had to be creative. We had to learn these skills. There was no way around other than being creative. We wanted something good to eat. We had to figure out how to make a fire in the fields that the master wouldn't catch on to, so that we can feast.
Right, until they started smelling it. What the hell is that? Well, master, we call it bacon.
These some seasonings.
Right. Bring some of that in the house.
Right. And that's the real deal. So, we've been in hell. Black people, we've been in hell since the day our feet touched this ground. We just in hell. Let's come out of it. Let me
ask you a question. Do you think Black people are too forgiving?
Are what?
Do you think we're as Black people, do you think we're too forgiving? I
do think that I don't know if it's, let me put this in the way that I hear it. I don't think that we're too forgiving, because if we were too forgiving, we'll forgive ourselves, right? So we have a problem with forgiving. I think we're too loving. We've been forced to love thy enemy. God says, love thy enemy as well as you do your neighbor. But being forced to love your enemy, there's a big difference. We was forced to care for our enemies. We were forced to live in their outhouse, whatever you call them back in the day, but we was forced to be there. We didn't choose to be there. So we loved the people that hated us. And in this day, we still do. I see Black people that would defend white people even when they wrong. But because this woman looks like she's so helpless and she needs all of this, you guys will go the bat, Black men especially, for these white women. It's ridiculous.
Listen, as we start to do more and more of these shows, I can see there's some topics that you and I are definitely are going to cover. And see, as I told you before we wrap this up here, as I told you, I've watched you on TikTok, and I've listened to you, and I'm intently in the clouds, and you're passionate about what you're saying. This idea of falling under the YouTube, you gotta speak YouTube language to get your point across. I'm glad you checked me on that, because I fell into that trap too, of what I would say conforming to what we believe. And I think this is one of the things, as they say in the YouTube streets, and I'm using the quotation marks, we quick to worry about what the white folks is gonna think about our content. Or what we talk about, or in essence, we're muting ourselves because we're worried about what they're going to think about what we think about us.
And my content, just to say this, if it might not be for you white people, it's not that I don't respect y'all for who you are. I'm not going to say all of you are bad, but at the same damn time, you've been making content against me and my people for all these years. Your content has never been there to heal. My content is always going to be to heal the people that I identify with. And if you cannot relate, you can't take yourself out of your own self-absorbedness and put yourself in my shoes, then I'm going to have to call that a you problem, because I'm not here to people please. That's not why God put me on this earth. He said, you know what? You got so much fire. I'm going to teach you how to use it in a way that's going to affect, or it's not going to infect, but it will affect people's lives in a positive way. And my content won't be so nice to the people that has not always been so nice to me. I'm sitting here trying to figure out for years, why did I
Why?
have to be black?
Right. Because you know, there's a time where, you know, I know it's sitting in my house right now from the history of, you know, my folks. There's actually books from the schools that said for black people, for colored folks only. You know, that's how deep this runs. You know, even education, and you know, it's time to stop being stop being apologetic about who we are to please them. We're not here to coddle your feelings anymore. It is what it is. The worst thing that people have to swallow is truth, and it's about time they start swallowing some of it.
That's right, and that's it.
It's a bitter pill.
I agree.
CeCe, we're gonna get out of here. We're close to an hour here on a kind of first official test run. I know we got more things come just from him to talk to you. Ooh, y'all is in trouble. I found one.
Yep, you sure did.
Y'all in trouble. I found one. Unapologetically black, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm talking about. Black excellence. You know, she's a mother. Again, CeCe, some of the things that I warned you about on YouTube, they are just as you said, our own people will come after you for being. But again, you know, I think I chose well and someone that represents black people. I think I kind of chose well with this one. So, folks, I look forward to more shows like this and much more content, because I already know where we're gonna go with our next show. Believe me, we're gonna have to talk about, as they call them, the alphabet community, and what's a woman?
What?
What's a woman?
What's a woman?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. That's what they say. That's what they're trying to convince me, that I don't know what a woman is. They're trying to tell me that a man that puts on a dress can identify himself as a black woman. I'm supposed to be all right with that.
You know what a woman ain't. I think if you know what a woman's not, then you halfway there to knowing what a woman is.
I know what it ain't. So that's gonna be okay. You see that?
That's all that matters, right?
And listen, that right there was a natural woman. Wait a minute, let me put it on the big screen. Yo, see here? Do that again.
Should I say it again?
Yeah, do that. Say it again. Say it again.
I said, you know what a woman not. You know what a woman ain't.
Right.
So you halfway there to knowing what a woman is. That's all you got to know. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right. If you got to convince me that you are not
the father. Well, Murray said you are not the father. Okay, let me tell you that. And your damn show can be, you may be able to fill a hole, but that doesn't make you whole. Okay, I'm just saying.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, we gonna see you later. CeCe, great having you on the Chop Shop. We got to do this again next week. Or next week Monday, or be our time slot. We'll start airing these shows on Monday nights on YouTube. We'll, of course, it'll be pre-recorded, but you know, I'm sure looking forward to having some great content from you. And who knows, when we get things settled, we might just take this show on the road and go live with it. All right.
Okay, I'm liking it. Okay, you know, just keep me in the loop. I'm ready for it. Let me say this one thing before we go out. Today, I got to tell you this because I didn't get a chance to brief you on it, but I got to tell you, today, my brother, like, I don't know if I ever told you this, but my brother has been incarcerated for 18 years. So he's up for like a review to come out of jail, but this is off of exoneration. So we're trying to get him exonerated. And I'm in the office with like this guy named Keith Ellis that supposedly started this CPU. It's the Corrections Review Unit, CRP or something like that. But long story short, I had to go off on him today because you know what they do? They dress up in their nice suits. They come, they want to ease the crowd's mind. But it's like you're telling us that you're going to do the best that you can, but you need resources. But you started this unit, and you're telling me when you started this unit, you don't have resources to help these people for real?
Right. You know, I was just, you know, I know we were going to talk about the LGBT community on our next show, but I think this is something we need to cover because they also have this thing called the Innocence Project, and it sounds something similar to that.
He's helping. That's who they just wrote my brother's whole case in the way. My brother's been doing this for 18 years, so he had a case all panned out. But you know, when you're dealing with politics, you got to know their words. You want to keep a black person down, put that shit in the book and use
Right.
some word and terminologies that they can't even pronounce. So y'all don't believe that's true. That's the truth.
Damn.
That's fair work.
Right. I hate to say it, but it's truth, folks. That it's no truth, more truth than that. Because listen, you walk onto for those of you who don't believe me, if you live in a place to where you use mass transit a lot, when you get on the bus or you get on the train, look at all the people's heads. They are pointed down at their phones. Ain't no reading. They're scanning. They're slicking right. They flicking right. They're flicking left. They ain't reading the New York Times or things like that. No. So if you want to hide the truth from somebody, put it in a book. She's right. She's absolutely right. But yes, CeCe, I think that's something we really need to cover. And while you talked about it, you know, well, if you don't mind, you'll talk about your experience with your brother being, I hate to say it, sounds like incarcerated for 18 years. When you use the word exonerated, it sounds like he's been incarcerated for 18 years for nothing.
For nothing. It was, they have no evidence. They got people recanting their story right now. When they put him in prison, he was 16. Everybody that was testifying against him was under the age of 16 or just at 16.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, we definitely need to cover that. So if you don't mind, you mind that be the topic of our next show?
I am totally okay with it. I got so much on that one. Like I'm gonna sing you some things to go over so that you can pull out and do what you do. You work your magic the way that you do. I'm just magical just by being here. That's all.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, I knew I chose right. Look at here. I'm wrong. I'm betting 1,000.
For real, you did.
You know how many people I had to bypass on TikTok to find you? Lord.
God knew what he was doing. He said, "Hey, you might have to wait and be patient, but I'm gonna send you what you need."
Not this one. Don't do that.
Right.
No, not this one. Stop. Pay attention.
That's right.
Because you said something the other day, and actually I think I can download that clip, but and if we can't, we'll figure out a way to play it. But you said something. We were talking about it earlier when you were talking about come on. Accountability, not accountability, obligation.
Oh yeah.
So we'll cover those two subjects because they kind of go both hand in hand. So we'll start it with that clip and then we'll go on to from that. So folks, you're getting a preview of what we're gonna do on next week's show.
Yeah.
So you folks might want to pay attention to this. I think we're ready to go. But we're going to end this right here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we'll see everybody next Monday, same bad time, same bad channel. Before we go, CeCe, why don't you tell them where they can find you on your social media platforms, if you have a YouTube page or Facebook, TikTok, or whatever.
Okay, my YouTube page is under construction, but you guys can find me at TikTok. My name there is CeCe. So that's CeCe, CeCe, SeeSeE. That's what it is. CeCe. And then on Facebook, my name is CeCe, CeCe, Denise, DENISE. Those are the two platforms that I check. That's where you can find me on a regular. And, just hit your girl up. I'm always here.
All right, folks. There it is right there. Make sure you get on over there and like, share, and subscribe to our channel. That folks help us build up the positive movement. That's what we're trying to build over here. Black excellence. You know, again, as one of the things, I got to be honest with you, CeCe. I did an evaluation of the station and by the pros, and they told me in order to make this this dream that I have come alive, I have to bring on the right people. So again, welcome to the family, and I look forward to nothing but great things from you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody, and we'll see y'all next Monday. All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
We up out here.